Hi there. So, I guess I'll start by just a quick demonstration, maybe then jump into explaining a little bit of what goes on, and then maybe a more complicated demonstration. Like I'll try and maybe I should, like actually pretend I'm doing this from scratch. But so I just have a Python file here on the desktop. It prints some stuff, and I'm gonna have something that shows my hotkeys. So when I push F12, you see that down there. Um, so here's the Python file that I'm editing. Here's the terminal that just popped open and it ran the stuff, printed it out. I can put it wherever I want. Maybe I'll put it like right there, and I'll put this right there, and maybe I'll just move this over. Except for that didn't work out. Oh well. Um, Let me make this small. All right. Uh, yeah. So notice you can see the blue highlights where like the focus is. When I'm in here, I'm focused in my GVM session. I push F12 and I'm still focused on the code. Things happen over here, but it didn't actually put me over here focused wise. And so like yeah, we could. So what is this uh under the hood? It go to the vimrc and we'll look at the auto command is responsible for assigning that hotkey. I've got this little thing. So if I'm editing a file on the desktop, which in Vim language would say auto command for when you have a new buffer or you're reading a buffer that happens to be in your desktop and is a Python file, make a normal mode mapping for that buffer for F12 to call this function. What function? Okay, so you do have to make a function. So I have a function that in this case it does a little bit more than say would be necessary because you might be editing a folder of, I mean, if you're working on a Python module that was just sitting on your desktop, it wouldn't be just bare on the desktop, it'd be in a folder. And so we need to check um, the parent directory or the parent directory. And yeah, so the command we're using to run is Python, and then whatever the arguments are, we're going to stuff them in there. So we check if the parent directory has an init, and that would tell us, oh, we're going to use that. And then we make the arguments the parent directory. Otherwise, the argument is just the file. If there's a main, then the argument is the main, and the run command is slightly modified because Python has to have the -m to say we're running as a module. Whoa, Karnak. Yeah. Uh, and otherwise, if it's not in a folder with an init or a main, then the argument is just the path to the file expanded. So that's what this is. The file, we just want the path p. So once we've got the argument, we can stuff the argument into the run, which is Python 3 the argument. And so having formulated the command, we run it like this. Have term say the command escaped. And that's the this is what you do on Windows when you have like probably maybe some path separators that need to be escaped. And this word desk here is just like it's a tag, and it just basically lets you reuse whatever you were doing before. So so in action, the desktop isn't really the most interesting, useful place. It's a lot more. It's actually a lot more complicated because of the init in the main business here. So the one I actually use a lot, the reason I made this, you really just have like a location that you might be coding in. So let's go down here and say, starting from where that is. If I'm editing a file in a folder called bpy, then it will know that I'm editing something related to Blender. And so we'll go to this, we'll go back up there and, hey, what are you doing? You jumped the wrong thing. Right. Okay, so it's a lot easier when you just need to get the, say, like the environment variable, and just ignore this line here. And then just say, have terms say that stuff. Like this, I could go into slightly more detail on what that's all about. It's an auto hotkey gets involved here for Blender. We'll go check that out because it is kind of useful, I guess. Go to that folder with where the add-ons are, and then maybe like pick, I don't know, something that needs something. I don't know. So so this is a file in that folder. So that's all that's important, is it's somewhere in that folder. It's not directly in the folder, but it's underneath that tree. And F12 does this for that. We don't need Blender out here. So let's say we'll go down and pretend that we want to make something print if it registers. All right, let's go check. Did it work? I did it. There it is. So yeah, the cool thing is mainly that it doesn't move your focus around unnecessarily. Like when I quit Blender, I want to be back in my text editor, not in the console. I want the console to sit like maybe on its own window or off to the side, or just basically be somewhere. And I need to bounce back and forth between my text editor and whatever program you decide to use this with. Can be used for a lot of things. This is just, for example, let's get rid of this. Oh yeah, and one more thing is when you close this, that one closes too. Isn't that nice? So you don't get left with a bunch of like spare extraneous console vims. Yeah, okay, so here it is. Have terms say on my GitHub. There's sort of a description of how to use it. If it's not good enough, then, well, I'm sorry. But you can get it from there and perhaps modify it for your usages. And yeah, okay. As they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but this was like multiple pictures, moving pictures, and probably way too many words. So there's diminishing returns here at some point.